The hot topic is the change in speed limits.
I'm really keen on speed limit reductions.
How's it going, Nobby?
Oh, it's really good, yes, very good.
We just wanted to touch base from last week when we covered a museum update, and today you've got us a little bit more information, hopefully, on how progress is going.
So, as always, I've got to do the First Lady's wardrobe first.
Before
and that sort of, all your trolls.
Yeah.
So you'll see by the photograph I've provided, she's got about 100 sets of earrings.
Oh, wow.
And we did go to Dunedin last weekend, and she didn't actually buy any more, so that's a step in the right direction. So quite pleased about that.
You can afford lunch this week, then, can't you? You can treat yourself.
Have a coffee somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the museum.
Well, museum's looking really good. I think we should be able to do both museum and storage facility at the same time. Staff have really got on board with it, or the management have. Nigel's getting really excited about it. He's going to be our lead on it to make sure that we get there on time. There's always debate about whether you should call it a museum or some other name, an iwi name. So we've avoided that by just having an initial project that says Project 1225.
Okay, now what does 1225? Explain to our audience, what does 1225 mean?
Well, 12 means December and 25 means 2025.
Exactly.
So that's 3 years from now, and I'm committed to getting that done in there, and that's what we're waiting to get the final details about to make sure we can get it done at that time.
That's pretty exciting.
It is, it really is, yeah. We've been waiting for years for it.
And the other hot topic is the speed limits, or the change in speed limits, or reduction, I should say, of some of the streets and roads around the district.
So I'm really keen on the speed limit reductions.
Right.
It hasn't been everybody's cup of tea. Alan Arnold, one of our councillors, is quite opposed to it. But a couple of things to consider. There's no doubt that if you drive slower and you have an accident, you do less damages. No doubting at all. And lower speed means lower accidents because you've got more response time. Now, we had a whole suite of things to do. Not everything's quite right. We've got an ability to tinker around with some still. The major issue that we didn't go to, which was to reduce the speed in the city from 50 right down to 40, which is what Waka Kotahi suggested to us. We pushed back on that, so we haven't done that. But some of the rural areas that are gravel roads, we haven't kept it to 100 k's because it's madness to be doing 100 k's on a gravel road. Now, we've got little wee pockets. A Maui township is one where they actually want it pushed down further. They think people coming down doing the current speed is still too high. So we're playing around with it. But look, if you know Nelson and Blenheim really well, the road between Blenheim and Nelson was changed 2 years ago. It had huge accident rates and quite a number of deaths as well on the windy roads. They've dropped it from 100 down to 80, and in some places 60. You can go about 15 k's with double yellow lines, so you can't do any passing. In the last 2 years, no fatalities and very few serious accidents. So the research shows lower speeds mean lower impact and lower potential to not be able to react to something that comes your way. Because if you look at some of the accidents that we see around, there's way too many accidents that relate to using cell phones while you're driving.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to the police and to downers that go to the accidents, they say people just start using their cell phones, they wander across the medium line, they're dead. And so the slower you go on either way, the less chance that you get to have that impact. So it's all about saving lives. And so, I'm quite a strong supporter.
So that is great that obviously council's going to have a little bit of flexibility in this. So as you said, the township, they can apply or talk to council about getting a reduction or an increase depending on the case by case, basically.
Yeah, they can. Places like Maui have already done that. They've asked us to look at it. We're going to let the dust settle, literally, and just have a look at that. But out around Ototara, we've got some roads that are at 60, some that are at 80, and there doesn't seem to be any logic about why there's a differential there, so we will look to that, but we'll just let the dust settle. One of the things that really grates me is that people have this attitude that you've got to be at 100 k's everywhere. And I go out in the open roads in my camper van, and I'm doing 100, and people cannot sit behind me. They have to overtake. Constantly, I've got friends that do that all the time. And I say to them, when you get past the person, what do? I just sit in front of them. I just don't like sitting behind somebody. And the mentality of that just beggars belief. It really does. And so we've got too many accidents on our roads that we need to be mindful of.
Probably one concerning area would be now that they've opened the Tay Street pedestrian crossing again, maybe the 50 could be reduced to 40 possibly along there, just that block, because you've got two pedestrian crossings and then you've got the roundabout, and we're also going to have traffic coming out of Invercargill Central Car Park at peak, especially peak times like Christmas, which will be interesting to see how the whole thing handles that.
Well, we're committed to looking at Tay Street again.
Yeah.
One of the things that when we initially did the streetscape stuff was that we were going to do a whole lot of development in that area, and we've paused that, and we'll pause it for quite some time because the retailers there said what we were about to design wasn't good for them, and it created a whole lot of safety issues as well.
And it makes
so we
sense.
just take time to get it right.
Yeah, and it makes sense because, as you said, let the dust settle. Let's just see how the traffic's going to flow and the different configurations, and then you can act on it.
Look, a good example is that earlier this year we closed the airport straight while we were doing the stop back. People had to go the long way around, and we dropped the speed down. And what the driving time showed us, that if you're going from Otatara along to North Road at 100 k's, and if you did it then at 80 k's, which is what we dropped it to, the difference was less than 1 minute.
Right. And the other thing we're looking forward to this Saturday is the official opening or reopening of Anderson's house.
Sure. So I get the job of cutting the kibble and doing the ribbon.
This will be the first ribbon cutting, was this?
It is.
Yes. Oh, official. Yeah.
But look, it's been 7 or 8 years in the making, which is diabolically long, and I don't appreciate that time frame, so that won't happen under my watch again. We'll get things done much quicker than that. But people need to understand, while the house looks nice and it's been fitted out and it looks beautiful, we actually don't have a use for it yet. That's one of the things that the Anderson's House Trust is trying to identify. Well, what do we use it for in the future? And there's a range of options, but there's nothing that, at this stage, that allows you to go in to the house at any time and just wander through. So there's going to be no art gallery stuff there. So we've got to look at other things. Can we use it for boutique events? Could we have an artist in there full time, maybe doing their artwork, or glass blowing? Or there's lots of options that we're looking at, but none of them seem to quite pan out yet. So it'll be open, but it sort of won't be open.
So it could also make a good wedding venue, or maybe a cafe / restaurant.
Yeah, the cafe's been looked at, but you've got to have patronage. That's the problem.
That's
A wet day in the middle of the week,
Yeah.
nobody goes to Anderson's
Yeah.
house or out to Anderson Park, and so you'd run at a loss. We have looked at the weddings, but there are not enough weddings in the city to justify what would need to go there, because we'd need to put in additional toilets, commercial kitchen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
In today's world, most people just live together.
Yeah.
They don't get married. So there's not enough of them to sustain that as a wedding venue. And we've got to be mindful that we're not encroaching into other people that currently do wedding venues, and there are a number of them around. So we've got to be careful that we're not using our influence to actually upset somebody else as well.
That closes another 90 seconds with Invercargill Mayor Nobby Clark. See you next week.